Hey, what's up guys? My name's Jessica and I am the host of the Latex Files podcast. I also create content on TikTok and Instagram. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how an escort manages their period. The first thing to note is that periods are a normal fact of life. If the idea of a woman having a period horrifies you, terrifies you, that you never want to encounter it, it'll make you sick forever if there's an accident and you accidentally encounter something, then in my respectful opinion, in my humble opinion, this engaging with women isn't for you, because unfortunately these things can be a fact of life and accidents do happen. Secondly, I would say that the way the escort manages her period will be very personal to that escort. There are some escorts that will not work for the duration of their cycle, and there will be other escorts who are comfortable working, and neither one is the wrong approach. Of course, as escorts, if we do want to continue working when we are on our cycle, then of course, it is in everybody's best interests, including our own, that we are managing it and stopping the flow before it gets near you or anywhere on you. I choose to work on my period because my cycle, it's very light. The amount of bleeding I get is very light and very manageable. So for me personally, I don't have any issues with that. Now, what I use is something like this. This is a sponge. I have done countless bookings with countless clients where I have worn a sponge when I have had my period. So what this is, it sort of acts like a tampon. It's a squishy sort of tampon. So I'm saying I would too, wet it a little bit and squeeze out the excess moisture. This just makes it easier to insert and remove. Then essentially I just do it crouch down a bit, and just with my fingers, my longest finger, I will get in there and shove it all the way up. And I'll do that just before a booking, before I'm about to see a client. And that little thing stops and holds the blood flow that I'll have, so it won't touch the client. Of course, even if there was some bleed through that sponge, which I have not personally experienced before myself at all, it can happen. I'm not saying that it would never happen, but it can happen. So therefore, it's a really good idea, and that's why as well we have condoms. So you're going to be wrapping up your eggplant with condoms. Of course, wherever there's blood involved, there is an additional risk of STI transmission. I'm not here to say that there's not. For me personally, doing bookings this way, and I know from various other ladies who do bookings this way, this is the great way to manage it. But of course, this is why condoms are very important too. It's an important backup. Now, obviously, if you are going down there with your mouth, well, you should be able to see down there, you wouldn't be licking. If you saw blood, you wouldn't be licking, right? I would hope you would stop. I'm sure there are ladies out there that have had accidents with clients, and it would be obvious, right? It would be evident. So for me personally, I don't really see why I should need to stop working. And I did a video on this once, and I got a whole lot of men in the comments, and women actually, being disgusted that how dare I continue to work. Why can't you just take some days off? Why can't you just take some time off? Well, as a small business owner, I can't just take multiple days off, 4 or 5 days off out of the month to not work when I'm on my cycle, because I don't live that sort of luxurious lifestyle. Can you take 4 or 5 days off a week, a month as a woman? If any women stumble across this, you can't take 4 or 5 days off of work a month just to manage your cycle. You don't get that amount of sick days. So why are you assuming that I have to? And I once got into a bit of an argument with someone because they said, oh, well, I had an incident with a worker, and she she bled through sort of thing. Her cycle came unexpectedly, and he was really angry at me because he kept asking me, what should she have done? What should the escort have done in that case? I don't know whether he's meaning give a full refund and like he leaves, or like it was like he hated her, like he was filled with hatred for her. I don't understand the sort of scenario, right? But he would get very upset because I said to him a couple of times, well, look, I wasn't there. Like I can't tell you what I think she should have done because every woman, like it's different in every case, right? And he's like, but what about the risk of like STI? What about the blood and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what do you want me to do, babe? Like tell you that, oh, she's an evil bitch. And because he's saying, oh, well, she should have known, she should have known that like her cycle was coming. And I said, well, I don't know that. Okay. These things can happen unexpectedly. I'm sure if ladies are watching this can, pop down in the comments, like my cycle is quite predictable, right? Here and there I'll be surprised that, oh, it's come a little bit, maybe a couple of days earlier, or it's come a couple of days later. But other ladies aren't so fortunate, okay? And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be wearing a preventative sponge for several days with all my bookings in the lead up to when I'm going to get my period. But I'm sure that can happen, and there may be a day that can happen. We're not going to be wearing a sponge inside of ourselves for every cycle. So I'm not quite sure what that guy wanted me to say. I think he just wanted me to agree with him that she's some sort of like evil, nefarious bitch for daring to have her menstrual cycle. Perhaps he was looking for his money back or something. But yeah, I wasn't there. Like I said to him, I wasn't there. And I would hope that if I was a worker with my clients that would come to see me, I would hope if that happened to me and there was a genuine accident and there was a little bit of blood there, I would hope that they would be gentlemanly enough to maybe not be like thrilled about it, obviously to not be thrilled about it, but to say, no problem. That's just that is a natural part of your human experience as a woman, as a female. Therefore, I'm not going to be mad at you. It's obviously kind of unexpected and it's a bit inconvenient. Let me give you a bit of time to clean up and like we can get going. And all I would do there in that scenario is go into the bathroom. Hopefully it's not anything to where, I need to do much, like a full shower or anything. I don't even get my flow like that, my cycle that much anyway. So, and then I would just like douche out using a water, just warm water douche out so it flushes everything out. And then I would just grab a sponge and stick a sponge in there and we can keep going. It's literally no problem. To my mind, I feel like, I'm there ready, willing and able to perform the service, which is an SL service. And if the client doesn't want to continue in that circumstance because the idea of a woman having a menstrual cycle is off-putting to him, like it cuts him out of that sort of sexual scenario in his mind, like unfortunately that's not really a me issue. That's a human nature issue. So in my opinion, I would not be giving any refunds. That's just how nature works. That's how things work. That's how they roll. Now, you might be wondering with these little things, after we've done our bookings, like how do we sort of get them out? So what I will do is basically crouch down again and sort of bear down and like push a little bit with my pelvic floor. And then I essentially get two fingers like reaching up there to try to like squeeze them out. Sometimes it helps that I have long nails. I'll use the middle nail with a bit of a come hither motion, and I have to like scrape it to cling onto it and start dragging it down because they can be a little bit stuck up there. Now those ones are reusable. You could reuse them a few times if you wanted. You just kind of wash them out and you can reuse them. And yeah, they don't necessarily have to be changed after each client. I mean, that's another thing too, and that might gross you out. But, again, you're wearing a condom over your eggplant, so there's no skin-to-skin contact there with the previous client anyway. It's just been touching latex. And also, there's the same level of contact with your vaginal walls in your vaginal canal. So how is that different to the vaginal walls in your vaginal canal? Like, it doesn't make sense to me to why it would need to be taken out and thrown out after every single one. But, you know, here and there, I might have just like one booking per day sort of thing if I'm on my cycle, maybe like even less, you know. So there might be a couple of days there where I don't get any bookings or whatever, but like, let's say I've just, you know, had the one booking or whatever, well, then I just throw it out because I don't need it again that day. And I don't want to leave it kind of sitting there, okay? Because there's more risk of like germs, you know, it's kind of like a tampon, right? So I would just get rid of it at the end of the day. Well, look, hopefully that hasn't like grossed you out and turned you off from seeing an SW. If you'd like to hear more about all things sort of adult industry related, particularly full service, feel free to head on over to Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you might get your podcasts, and have a search for The Latex Files. And I'm a Googleable person, so if you did want to sort of click around and see what you can find, thank you so much for watching.